There he is.
Hey,
John Boy.
This guy.
what's
Bubblegum
up?
and taffy.
Howdy.
Bubblegum and taffy. So we are recording. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Good
All your
evening.
base are belong to us. Steve, are you still futzing or should we jump right in?
No, go for it. I'll be done with this.
You good, Johnny?
Yeah. John Blaze. You know, I want candy and I don't know why.
Trainwreck Steve reporting in from Florida.
And I'm Ben Tomzak, but in some sense, the three of us are also Charlie Kirk at the same time, if you really think about it. And that's going to be a lot of the conversation that we're going to be having tonight. We're doing something a little different. We are not going to be doing a debate, as has been our want, because we've been talking a lot. The debate schedule was a little bit crazy. It was difficult to get everything prepped in time. It was leading to undue anxiety and thoughts of suicidality, especially from John. And so we're going to sort of like space out in between a little bit and do these shadow boxing episodes where we're kind of just talking about current events, seeing if there's anything interesting that we could spitball about, just a lot of vamping probably. And we're also going to introduce a new segment tonight from Steve, but we'll get to that later. All right. So Steve, this is a show about traditions, Johnny's lack of drink notwithstanding. So what did you pour for yourself over there?
I got some Glenlivet Caribbean Reserve.
Still drinking the Caribbean Reserve, or is that a fresh bottle?
No, same.
Oh, wow. Okay. You have slowed down.
Yeah,
or I've accelerated.
Yeah.
So
no.
This is what I have tonight. This is one I haven't tried before. It's called Taconic, and it's from the Hudson Valley in New York, and it is absolutely delicious. It's a rye. It tastes like creme brulee. I highly recommend it.
That's very
good.
Yeah, it's delicious. With that being said, I'd like to raise the glass. Johnny, you can pretend if you want to, but R.I.P.
Just off camera.
Yeah. So, I guess maybe we should start with a little bit of a wrap up. I think you guys tell me if this makes sense. We'll still do like a round down from the last episode because I think there are a couple things to talk about, and it says on the outline we're going to do that. So let's do it. Anything from anybody?
I don't know, far away. What do you got? I get a million thoughts in my head, and none of them are our last episode. What was it, like a month ago?
It was June, technically.
June.
I think the email was the 23rd for the last.
Was it really June?
June and July was the recording for that.
Ouch.
Yeah, we talked about whether or not America has stolen land. I think, Steve, you made some pretty good points. Johnny, I think you sort of did a great job articulating what I think most people on the right side of that debate would say. But did anybody sort of have any shifts in opinion or think anything different after the conversation was had?
No, it's all coming back to me now. No, I mean, just to clarify my actual position on it, because I took the other side of the issue.
Right.
To clarify my actual position, I think it's clearly conquered land by whatever means necessary. And broken treaties, I don't feel like that was an extremely strong argument. I would rather see a broken treaty than outright mass murder. Which there's probably some of that too. But.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I mean,
but that's how it goes. I mean, you conquering places, it's never pretty.
Yeah.
To the victor goes.
In the sense that so there's that element of it for sure, Johnny. I think in any conflict between two humans or two human parties where there's a extreme power imbalance, right? This is just the way that it's going to unravel almost every time. You could maybe make the argument that we're becoming civilized to the point where we don't behave that way as humans anymore, but I'm not sure there's a lot of evidence to make that case anyway.
Well, we've got other issues. Well, we can get into that later, but yeah. We've become very comfortable as a society. Most of the world, I would say, particularly in America.
Yeah,
to the point that we're creating problems.
Yeah, when the supply for problems is lower than the demand, so they have to manufacture problems to create fake outrage.
We're manufacturing problems, right? Exactly right. We're calling people fascists who aren't fascists. I'm probably getting ahead of myself on this one.
No, I think we can say. I mean, There are a couple of other things I wanted to touch on from last time, but we can leave it for the roundup if we want to. And, I think we're going to be sort of freewheeling a bit too. So we can just let things go where they will. But I think it's a really timely, we're talking about this sort of cyclical expression that, good men make good times make soft men make bad times make good men, and the cycle just repeats, right? And so we're at a specific stage in that cycle very clearly. And we are reaping the fruits of having planted that tree, unfortunately. So this shadow boxing, our first shadow boxing round, the primary discussion topic is the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk on the 10th of September. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. I know you guys are bristling. I've got some specific things I wanted to talk about or questions to ask you guys to see what you're thinking about it, but does anybody else want to take the first stab?
No, run into it, whatever you got. Yeah, what are your thoughts on it? I'd love to get your perspective on it because we really haven't talked about this.
Yeah. A couple of quick things. I've spent a lot of time over the past week thinking about why this feels so different. And I think there are a lot of reasons. But first, let me just do a quick pulse check and see. Like, I think you guys were really rattled by the news, probably the same as I was, seemingly the same as a lot of America was. And, this feels so much more poignant than the attempted assassination in Butler last summer. And I don't know if it's because Trump survived and Charlie didn't. I think that might be part of it, but I think there's more to it than that. And I was curious to get your guys' take on it.
There is. Do you have a thought? Because I have several thoughts on that.
What do you think, Johnny? I do, but go ahead, John. I want to hear about you.
I mean, I guess I haven't really thought about that so much. I think just, based off of what you said, I think that if he was killed, I think that, I think it would have had a similar effect. I mean, I don't think that Trump is necessarily as, pure of a man as that Charlie was, and kind of in his convictions and belief and faith and thing like that. And but I think that it would have been basically viewed as a way to silence political dissension, as like Trump's kind of been an outspoken voice for conservatism and bringing America back to its former glory in the past. And I think you would have seen that as a direct attack on that. And then to me, I just think that it's just so silly that, these guys are being called fascists, but they're trying to silence the opposing viewpoint, which is fascism. You know what I mean? So I just think it's kind of silly, but I think it would have had a similar effect, but I don't know if it would have been the same. I don't know.
Yeah. The only thing I was going to say, I think you've touched on some good things there. I would say that the more I've thought about it a lot, like I said, trying to figure out why it feels so categorically different. I think part of it is, like you said, Trump not being, he kind of blows in the wind a little bit, I feel like sometimes, whereas Charlie was really steadfast in the things he thought and the way he expressed them. I think for me, at least, he seemed so invincible to me. And part of that, I think, is because of how young he was and how vibrant. But from the point where Steve texted and said, "Hey, Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck, doesn't look good," until he died, was the blink of an eye. And if you guys are like me and you've just sort of been watching Charlie in the background, like, I engaged with his content sometimes and I generally liked it, but I wasn't like watching all his videos all the time. You know what I mean? Uh, but it just kind of felt like he was always going to be there. And a lot of, I'm not the first to say this, and a lot of people have said he would have been president someday, and that's probably true. So in a sense, we got this assassination of this like young, vibrant family man who was shaking up the young conservative movement in ways that we've never seen before. He just had this presence, like he was always going to be around. And it's kind of also like a pre-presidential assassination in some ways. Steve, what do you think about any of that?
Yeah, no, I think you guys both kind of touched on my thoughts on it. Ultimately, he didn't deserve this, right? I mean, as far as the Trump assassination, the argument can be made that he's on the offensive, right? I mean, he's clearly a firebrand. He takes the fight to them. Charlie's not taking the fight to anybody. He's just talking to them, right? This is what I believe, and this is why I believe it. And if you want to believe it too, if it makes sense, then good on you. But he
Yeah,
didn't. I mean, he did nothing to deserve this, and he's being called a fascist and all kinds of other stuff. Really, my biggest problem, I could write off one weird guy going to shoot Charlie Kirk for whatever reason. My big problem with this has been the overwhelming reaction to it, and it's driving me absolutely bonkers. And obviously, I'm in the sewer, so I see all the trash. But I mean, I think it's pretty much everywhere. I mean, it's on Facebook. It's in, I mean, any social media platform. People cheering this on. I've got, I've got a few screenshots, and it's not these like nobody accounts either. I mean, these are some pretty big people. I've got some screenshots. I mean, like one of the guys, he's a mayor in Pennsylvania. There's a congressman in California that just got everything totally wrong about this. I mean, the, the reaction to it has been my huge problem with this. There's a societal issue here, and I don't know. I don't like the trajectory of it at all. I don't know how we overcome it. I don't have anything in common with these people, frankly.
it's it's almost beyond parody. The idiocy of engraving "Hey fascist, catch" on one of your bullet cartridges and then assassinating somebody because you disagree with their political speech.
Right. And he's not forcing it on you in any way. He's coming to the lion's den to talk to these people about
Yeah,
it.
it's like you said, he's not on the offensive in the same way Trump is. Kirk is going to universities and inviting people to come to that space to talk to him.
Right. Trump's out there calling Rosie O'Donnell a fat pig. But Charlie Kirk's just out there being a nice guy and
Hold on.
getting the point
Sorry.
across. And the fact
Sorry, I'm getting a fact check. Hold on.
No.
She is, in fact, a fat pig. You can continue. Thank you, Steve.
Well, I didn't say it was untrue, but
At least she's not in the United States anymore.
Yes, I know. The island of Ireland is just slowly sinking into the Atlantic
exactly.
Ocean at this point.
It's substantially well below sea level now. No,
point being that he's clearly on the offensive, and he's abrasive, right? He's an abrasive guy. Charlie Kirk's not abrasive in any way, as far as I can tell. He had a small face, but I mean, he's a good guy. He was a good man. I mean, his family doesn't deserve this at all. Neither did he.
To Steve's point, though, like I think that he's not as incendiary as Trump is, and I think it really speaks volumes to the left that they're able to label someone who doesn't believe what they believe as a fascist, where it's like, he's going to these college campuses and he's not being, I think really politically divisive. He's just encouraging open dialogue, trying to find common ground with people in these issues and things like that. You know what I mean? And I think that's, to go back to the point of him, potentially being, a president at some point in time. I think that was a really strategic move in that, like if you're able to bridge the gap between, extreme political divides and being able to unite a good chunk of people under, some level of common ground. I mean, I think that's amazing. And that's like what the country needs, but we're so polarized right now, you know what I mean? And I think that, I don't know if you guys have heard, like people saying, the Turning Point USA is kind of like a little bit ironic with this assassination right over here. I just think that we are kind of at a turning point right now in the United States as far as politics is concerned, because like Steve was saying, like, I don't have anything in common with these people. Like they're so far to the other side. Like, how do we coexist together when we have such polarizing ideas of what's right and what's wrong? And if you're able to sit there and cheer on the death of somebody just because you don't believe what they believe, I don't know like how sick and twisted this like is there common ground and what's going on here? Is there, potentially, not just like metaphorically civil war, but is there a potential civil war coming? Because at what point do you say that you guys, you can't get along with one another? I mean, you take a look at a topic like slavery, right? And you see that, there was a civil war fought on that because there's two polarizing, views on what's right and what's wrong, and they fought over it. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of maybe not any one issue like slavery, but I think as far as the polarization of the politics is concerned, I think we're kind of on that like scope right there with slavery in terms of like we can't get along, we can't live in harmony because we have nothing in common.
Yeah. And Charlie kind of speaks to me in the sense that like I, I mean, I don't know. Prior to this, I might have considered doing, like a Q&A or something like that. Who is going to go out and do a Q&A with college students anymore? I don't know. Like, if you're going to shoot Charlie Kirk over this, like, what are you going to do to me? They call him a right wing extremist. This guy was a moderate as far as I mean, he was about as moderate as you can get. You're damn sure not going to like my views on stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, your extremism makes me uncomfortable sometimes even, Steve, so I agree with you.
Apologize.
It's I like
It's not
it,
my intent.
but see, that's the thing, that's what it's all about is that discomfort, right? Because how else are we gonna know where the boundaries of our own philosophies are? So that's important, but, yeah, did you have anything else you wanted to chip in on that, Johnny? Otherwise, I have some commentary to make on it, I think.
No, I mean, not really. I just think that like I liked the platform that he had on, and that like it was open dialogue, common ground, and it was, classic, like a debate, right? Like, let's talk about your ideas and my ideas, and like debate, like, why you have your position. And he made these kids fold up like freaking card tables every time because they've never actually thought about their position. All they've ever heard is, slogans and lines and things like that they're told to believe, and never actually stop to actually consider why they believe what they believe. And when they're challenged, they freaking melt down. And it's just, I think that's like a really, I don't know. I think that's a pretty good symbol of, the left, as at least the far left, is that, most of these people don't know why they believe what they believe. They're just told orange man bad, or, whatever bad, you know what I mean? They just believe it without questioning it and kind of letting it process through, like, some kind of like, moral type of, computing, and see if like that, like it makes sense, if it, if it works out, and why it makes sense.
Yeah, on that point, I think Charlie was a great debater and was a great apologist for conservative ideas. But, when you say that he made like these idiot kids fold up like card tables, I editorialized that. You didn't say they were idiots, but I added that because a lot of cases they were. But the thing that was so amazing about Charlie is that he was always civil, always polite. Like, he would go hard at people, right? But in a respectful way. And nobody's perfect. Like, we're not robots, we're humans, except for Lex Friedman. And so I'm sure there's probably an example out there somewhere of Charlie Kirk like losing his cool and getting snippy or like shitty with somebody, but I never saw it. I was just always so impressed with how cool he was, and how when he was engaging, he was doing it in a way that showed good intentions. He was trying to engage with somebody on the level of ideas, and certainly chop apart the dead wood that they had in terms of the way they thought about things, but not in a way that he was attacking them as human beings. That he was always very good about going after ideas and not people as humans, which I think is so important. And maybe that's another reason why this feels so terrible, is because he was so good at that. And that's the kind of thing that we need in our current environment, in the current political discourse.
Well said. I was gonna say something about that earlier when I was talking about what you thought. I thought about the, why it feels so different. And I think, I think part of that is that he had so much promise in his ability to be able to, persuade people that were, either indecisive, independent, or moderate, you know what I mean, to coming to, that particular side. He was just so good at what he did. And the fact that, like, I don't think you're going to find somebody with that level of talent, anytime soon. I mean, I hope that I'm wrong, and then someone pops up, kind of carries the torch. But I mean, he was just so well spoken, and like you said, he did a great job of, not attacking the person's character, but the ideas. And I just think that it's a really huge loss to conservatism.
Yeah.
And to your point of somebody else possibly popping up, who's going to do that? I mean, you just watch the nicest guy on the planet get shot in the neck in front of his kids. Like, who else is going to put themselves in that position now?
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve, in some sense, but it's an escalation thing. Like, I was thinking of in Batman Begins, when at the end of the movie they're talking about Jim Gordon is like, oh, we get bulletproof vests, they get armor piercing bullets. It's all escalation, and so like now there will not be outdoor speaking events like where Charlie was assassinated, probably. But it's not like this is the first time we've been in a political climate of this flavor, right? Like, assassinations used to happen fairly regularly, like in the 60s and 70s, and politics continued, and somehow like we figured out a way to keep conducting business just differently. right? So I think it will continue to happen. I mean, part of honoring Charlie's memory, I think, will be carrying on forward. I don't know if this is a good time to talk about this, but one of the things I had on the outline, and this is also probably true because we really don't know very much about the shooter and what his motives were. I mean, we have a general idea that's pretty ironclad, I think, but specifically, right? And so, do you guys know who Sagar Anjeti is?
Not familiar, no.
He's a pundit that I kind of like. He's a conservative and he's young, and I think like he's super well read. Like he has read every book on politics and history, and he's very smart. But the problem is that he does a uh news topic discussion show with fucking idiot named Crystal Ball, and I guess they used to work together at some network, and so like he's kind of chained to her. But she absolutely ruins the show. I'm getting on a tangent, but the point is that Sagar, he has this show, and I stopped listening to it a while ago, but I was like, I'll check back in with his show and see what he has to say about the assassination. And I had to stop listening because of Crystal, but I'm glad I checked in because one of the things he was talking about was partially because of the synchronicity of dates. So Charlie was shot on the 10th, and it was the why can't I do math? The 24th anniversary of 9/11, right? Yeah, the next day. And so basically what he was saying is, when situations like this happen, and there is sort of like a current of feeling that I think is similar between the way people felt after 9/11 and when Charlie was shot, is like it's good to stop and try to think about what it is that the shooter or the terrorist was trying to accomplish. Like, what's the goal that they had in mind? What is the change that they were trying to effectuate? So, Sagar was saying that after 9/11, what the terrorists really wanted was to undermine American freedoms. They wanted to sort of create sort of a fear and a self-doubt in our country. And that's exactly what happened after 9/11. Like we had the Patriot Act, like broad scale, government monitoring of citizens. Like it, now it takes 50 minutes to get through TSA pre-check or whatever, to get on an airplane. Like this is what the terrorists wanted, and we handed it to them like with a bow on it after 9/11. So it could be useful to try and think about what the shooter was trying to accomplish by killing Charlie, and it's probably something similar, trying to cause the right, and here specifically I'm talking about, Donald Trump and the administration, to have a knee-jerk reaction to, in a seesaw fashion, crack down on the free speech of the extreme far left or whatever you want to call it. And I think that's dangerous. And we can talk about some of this that's unfolding right now. I think this is good because we can also get into the discussion about what we're seeing online in terms of reactions, because I'm seeing different from what you described earlier, Steve, although I know that that sort of negativity is out there. But I think we should be very careful not to stop, doing both sides political discussion. I think we should be very careful to not say, hey, you celebrated Charlie Kirk on social media, so you get fired from your job. I think that's like in the part of my heart that's dark where the rats and the spiders hang out. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's amazing. Like, rock on, fire all those idiots. But I also think it's quite dangerous to sort of behave that way. Because I think that's what the killer wanted. But I talked for a long time, so please chip in, guys.
No, that was good. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I'm exactly. We're on the same level. I guess I've got a darker heart because I'm all about getting these people fired. You know what? If you're celebrating this guy's death, whatever. You lose your job. I don't care.
I hear
You
you.
know,
I hear you.
because it's going to happen anyway, right? I mean, the cancel culture's been around for what, 10 years in a substantial fashion. Sound about right? So we're at 2016, right? Right around Donald Trump,
Yep.
cancel culture
Yeah,
really
15.
started. So it's going to happen anyway. We might as well use it. I mean, it sucks to be this way. It really does. It's not a good way to be, but it's going to happen to us. It might as well happen to them.
It's funny you say that, Steve, because Megan and I were having this exact same conversation probably I don't know, like late morning today, because we were just she's really upset about it too. She took it a lot harder than I thought. I didn't know that she even knew who Charlie Kirk was, but she's been really upset. Like part of me was like saying like, Like you guys were saying, the dark part of me is like really happy that this is happening, everything like that, and part of me is like, you know what, like the right has played by the rules for so long that, like in what how has it benefited us? You know what I mean? And if like at some point, like, if we want to start winning some of these things, do we have to play the same games? Do we have to stoop to that? I'm against doxing. I don't think you should I think you should lose your job for saying something. You know what I mean? And I think we can all have different levels of like what we consider is okay to say and not okay to say, and still keep your job. But I'm just thinking, like this is stuff, this kind of like entering in a new territory right here for the right. And um I don't know if that's something that we should do or not. Like a part of me is very satisfied to see these people that were, saying inflammatory things get their just desserts. But I mean, are we any better at this point if we start doing that? Doing the same stuff that we told the left was, horrible to do. Like, why would you try to get somebody to lose their job for a difference in opinion? You know what I mean? And I think that's a slippery slope. So I'm kind of at a little bit of an impasse with how I feel because um, if we go down this road, I mean, do we come back from being able to play these kind of games? And then it goes back to like when you were saying like escalation, and I think ultimately that's um potentially one of the motives of the shooter right there, is that pushing the right towards physical violence in retaliation so that they can always
Yeah,
say, see, this is the violent right that we've talked about for so long. This is them in
exactly.
action right here. You know what I mean? And
Yep. Yep.
I think it paints the right into the picture of what the left's been telling us that we are for so long. And I just think that, that's, I don't know where we go from here. I think that that is something that we have to think about long and hard before we jump into something on a large scale.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. I mean, it feels like justice to have these people be fired. I also think we could make a distinction between different jobs, right? So teachers, I think, should not be doing this kind of thing, right? First of all, they're under a microscope right now with the administration anyway. I think justifiably so in a lot of instances. And so if you're going to be so stupid as to, say something politically idiotic online and anti-humanistic, by the way, um, there should be actionable consequences to that. Same with government employees, which I've seen a lot of this as well. Like people in government agencies who went on and celebrated the assassination have been terminated now. Those are two places where I think it does make sense and is reasonable to have that be a consequence. But generally, it's like what you said, Johnny. I mean, right now, both sides are just pointing guns at each other. And what I've been thinking about this week is, if we lower our guns, we're going to get shot probably. But if we don't lower our guns, everybody gets shot. And, I'm not sure how to rationalize which is better. Both options suck. But if we want to be principled and, be the side that, as we always have been, is firmly against fascism, then I think we need to try and de-escalate if it's possible in any measure, even small things like, not going online and, certainly celebrating Charlie's life and all that, but, not engaging with people who are being negative and calling them out for it even. I don't know. It's very difficult because we're locked into this like death battle, it feels like. So, I hate to be the guy that's like, we need to put our guns down, but I think we need to put our guns down.
No, that's very, very well put. That's why you're the anchor. No, it's very well put.
I
Um,
appreciate that, but
I,
I
I
could be
don't know
wrong.
exactly.
I don't know. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure exactly where I fall on this yet. I don't know that I want to put my guns down. Maybe everybody gets taken out. I don't know yet. This is still hitting me really hard, man. He didn't deserve this. He was such a good guy,
But
man.
that's the thing,
He's
like, both Johnny and I understand why you feel that way, and we also feel that way, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, I get it. We're all basically on the same. We all know what time it is. Right. We all get what time it is.
Like, I think we probably, Johnny, like, don't let me speak for you if this is not true, but, there's a part of me that feels like, yeah, I'm going down and I'm gonna take down as many other, people on the other side as I can because of this. It just doesn't,
I'm conflicted
where's that
with
lead?
like, is sating the vengeance in my heart worth like the ramifications? Can we go back from that once we do that? And then where does it go from there? How much more does it escalate? What does it look like? Um, you know, I don't know. Like I said, the dark part of my heart exactly wants to see bad things happen to bad people, but I don't know if that pushes us forward as like a political ideology if we succumb to the level of the people that we say that we hate or we disagree with.
No, no, I mean, you took the words right. Well, you didn't take the words out of my mouth because I'm not smart enough to say them. But yeah, that's basically what I was saying. When I say I don't like the trajectory of this, I don't like where this is going. There's no good outcome. Somebody's getting taken out. It's not pretty either way,
Yeah, I also
and
wonder.
they've radicalized some really dangerous people.
Yeah, I mean, on the topic of radicalization, we would really be remiss if we didn't mention that 10 years of calling conservatives, even mild, straight down the line, reasonable conservatives like Charlie Kirk, fascists and Nazis for 10 years. Like, this is the fruit of that tree. Like,
Right.
it's not unclear, right? The kid literally wrote fascist on the shell casing. And what do you do with fascists, right? So, one thing that I really took issue with, I brought up Sagar before because I think he made a good point about the 9/11 comparison, but then they played Trump's response or his announcement that came shortly after, where Trump was basically saying, this is the result of far left politics, going out and saying, calling conservatives these horrible, Third Reich kind of names. And on the podcast I was listening to, they were like, oh, this is the worst of Trump. But it's like nothing he said was inaccurate. This is exactly what you would expect to happen if you led an entire generation to truly believe that saying men are men and women are women is a fascist ideology.
Right. I never heard an extreme comment. I listened to Charlie Kirk a pretty good amount. I never heard an extreme comment come out of his mouth.
Well, I guess
Never once.
it's technically subjective, right? Because if you were this assassin and you were like living with your transgender boyfriend or girlfriend, I'm not even gonna try right now. So, but you know what I mean, like, and that person was telling you that they were being erased by Charlie Kirk, like obviously that has something to do with thinking Charlie's expressions are extreme, I suppose. But that's why we're in this mess, is because just saying basic truths about empirical reality is extreme now.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you guys. I mean, this is kind of something I've been wrestling with at this point, is that if a guy that's not up there spewing propaganda and he's out there debating, truths right there, and these guys don't want to debate anymore and they want to resort to political violence. I mean, are we at the end of political like discourse, and is it just violence at this point? Like, I mean, it looks like that
That's
they
my
don't
theory.
have an answer to any of the questions that we've been asking them, and they don't have a response other than they've lost the battle of words and they're resorting to actual physical violence. I mean, are we at that point right now between like the parties here that there is no talking left? I mean, I know you said that we should be out there going to college campuses and still trying to do that, but I mean, at what point do we say that like it's not a fruitful endeavor? You know what I mean? When it's just resulting in people basically um like the like like when you lose and you slap the fucking the game board around because you've lost, so you don't have any moves. I kind of feel like that's what we're at right now, is that the left is slapping the board on the ground because they have no more moves to play, and that's just violence at this point. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I might even say that we're playing two completely different games, and nobody knows how to compromise on this. Right? Like one of us is playing baseball, the other one's playing hockey. There is no. I don't know. Like my fear is that there is no common ground.
I think we should be careful to step back and take some perspective, because every generation thinks they live in the end times, And although I think what you're saying, there's truth to it, Johnny, about coming to this crossroads where, beyond the crossroads, there's no turning back. And the crossroads means we're crossing into a place where it's more about action and less about dialogue. I don't think we're there yet, but it does feel like we moved significantly closer on Wednesday last week.
Well, my thing is that in the past, though, Ben, you used to be able to have a disagreement with something, and it could be on something extreme. You know what I mean? And you guys at the end shake hands and agree to disagree, and you go about their way. You don't stop talking to them. You don't write them out of your life. You don't call them names and you don't inflict physical harm on them. And that's where we're at right now. I mean, I think we're at a very, very
Yeah.
different point than we've ever been in terms of politics. Didn't
Well,
say that
in
it
our
is a civil
lifetimes,
war.
yeah. I mean,
But
in
yeah,
our lifetimes, certainly. In our
yeah,
lifetimes, I
Right.
agree with you. Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Well, in history, these things seem to shake out pretty violently, right? Like 80 years ago, there was World War II. 80 years before that, we had the Civil War, and then 80 years before that was the Revolutionary War. So,
Mr.
I
Fourth
mean,
Turning
it
over here.
happens sometimes where sometimes it is. I mean, there is no reconciliation.
Yeah.
I hope that's not now, but um,
Yeah. I agree in some sense that, history rhymes is the cliche, but, there's always a cycle to what happens to humans, I think.
mhm,
And so I saw you put your fourth turning hat on for a second there, Steve, but it's,
right. It was.
yeah,
You nailed it. Yeah, right on the head.
yeah.
Fourth
Well,
runner.
I think there's a lot to that idea. And if that's true, then we're on the train car and like it's on the track that it's on, right? Um,
Right.
maybe what
Well,
we can,
we can control how we react to it
yeah, and maybe we can slow down the speed of the train car too, right? Or like
or
pull,
jump off it.
jump off it, or maybe not. I don't know. It's yeah. I
You
mean,
take some bruises to save jumping off a cliff.
like I don't want to be histrionic, but this thought only just occurred to me as we're talking about this, but just imagine if you think back to the millions and millions and millions of people in the, let's say 30s through 50s. I mean, you could even spin the Cold War into this, but the incredible human collateral that resulted in the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. 20s and 30s is what I meant to say. I think I said 30s and 40s, but it's like there are these touchstone events that could start wheels turning that we will not be able to understand what it actually meant until 50 years from now. And that's scary.
Yeah.
So I hope we're not there. We've talked before. This might be a good time to sort of dive into this a little bit. I sort of have a fundamental disagreement about this conversation, and we've talked about it before at your house, Steve, one night. But the possibility of civil war, I don't see it being possible, at least not in the traditional way we understand the term. But maybe you guys could try to make the case.
No, I agree. Not in the traditional sense. Nothing would be traditional at
So
all about
what
it.
would it look like if that were to happen then?
I can't tell you. I really don't know. I think it'd be a series of what we've witnessed over the past couple of years, right? Just a series of assassinations, and then there would be retribution rather than hand wringing.
So it wouldn't be like forces on a field opposing each other and then charging in with bayonets. It would be like left and right committing assassinations against each other.
I think so. Yeah, and there'd be a lot of. I think there would be. I mean, it's really hard to pin down, right? But as a general sense, I think there'd be some tactical deployments. This one side would knock out power grid, like we'd knock out power to Chicago, they'd knock out power to Nashville or Knoxville. It's really hard to see how it would shake out. I don't have a good handle on it.
well,
We wouldn't know it until it happened,
I think it would
and
be.
even then,
I think it would be difficult because unless you're, wearing like a name tag that says, conservative or leftist right there, you're not going to go. I mean, you would hope that you're not going to just go down the street and just start killing people because they look like they might be a conservative or they might be a leftist or something like that. But I could see that I could imagine there being maybe small scale stuff, maybe some kind of like guerrilla warfare tactics and stuff like that against, maybe like known organizations and things like that, where you have like, like you said, maybe some bombs and maybe some, some things like that, like where you maybe attack like a building or something like that, where that might be a, headquarters for whatever side it is, you know what I mean? But I don't know if we would see boots on the ground in like, blue and red uniforms squaring off on a field. But I mean, I could see it escalating to a point where there's maybe small scale, um, killings and things like that.
What'd be cool is if we could have each side pick a champion and then like, go to Madison Square Garden and they just like fight to the death. And then we figure out who wins that way.
Like in Troy.
your best fighter against mine. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's really not a
Like
bad idea.
what an opportunity to generate like boost the economy and stuff like that, like imagine the hot dog vendors and sell t-shirts and everything, put it on pay-per-view. I mean, I got to publish this episode and get this copyrighted because I think this is an idea that has legs to it.
One of the things that I found kind of ironic too is a couple things is that the Charlie Kirk got shot on a campus, which is supposed to be a gun-free zone, right? And when the left uses um, any kind of shooting, a public kind of shooting, as a means to enact further gun restriction laws, and they're up in arms about the shooting and everything like that. How come the left wasn't up in arms? It doesn't matter if it's, you know, if it's the gun that's the problem right there, right? And the gun that causes the shooting, and every death means something when it comes to a gun. Why wasn't the left up in arms about somebody getting shot with a gun? And how can they say that gun control works when, you know, they're sneaking guns onto campus and stuff like that? I just thought it was
This
kind of
is
an irony, like the gun control thing that they kind of stand on quite a bit. It was like reversed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just a quick, Steve, I'm interested to hear because I'm sure you have something to say about this, and I hope I'm not sweeping your leg here. But AOC came out straight away and made a gun control argument, but it's like there is no legislation on the table anywhere against bolt action rifles. It's like so stupid.
Right. And against people with no history of violence.
Yeah, no red flag would have done anything. I mean, like all of the, you know, gun control law in the world essentially would not have prevented this. So yeah, Steve, if you had something to add to Johnny's point, but
No, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. No, I honestly, I'm kind of at the point where I stopped caring what they say about it because it's never going to change me. I don't care what laws they enact. They're all going to be unconstitutional as far as I can tell, and they can come and get them.
yeah. Johnny, I'll give you the opportunity to add any other capstones to that, to what you were saying, or else I want to just pivot slightly.
No, I just thought thought the irony was kind of sickening.
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be. Yeah, it's a good point. Like you would expect that more people would have come out, you know, AOC aside, and said, "Hey, got to get our, you know, guns under control." Actually, you know, I don't know that there's really anything else to say except just to add that, you know, Steve, when you were talking about the sort of like disgusting side of the human expression that's come from this event, I've actually seen a surprising, you know, Facebook is basically the only social media that I use, and for that matter, I don't even use it for social media. I use it like for Facebook Marketplace to like buy rugs and shit that my wife yells at me about cluttering the house with. But the point is that and this could be, so like I don't know, because this could be a factor of my friend list being curated to some degree, you know, and you tend to associate with people who have similar beliefs to you. And so when I look at my Facebook account and I see a ton of people, a surprising amount of people posting in solidarity and regret about what happened, and you know, some people also saying like, hey, we should be grieving and like, you know, trying to support, you know, certainly Charlie's family, but the part of America that feels this loss, you know, that's what I'm seeing mostly on Facebook. Granted, and this is especially true about people that I met when I was living abroad, you know, there are people that I saw expressing really disgusting reactions, but it's largely like 90% been people in solidarity, and you know, just expressing shock and outrage at the killing.
Sure. Anyone surprising? That's my part. Is there anybody surprising on that list to you?
Yeah, thank you
About
for asking that. So when BLM was happening, there was this girl I went to high school with, and we got into some like pretty heated debates on Facebook back when I was still stupid enough to do things like that. I saw her posting, you know, sort of like a reaction that I thought was pretty tasteful and respectful, just saying like, you know, this is a terrible thing, how horrible for his family, not good for the country, like that kind of thing. So even people who I thought, like at least in my mind, were pigeonholed into like a fairly hard left, you know, woke Marxist, whatever worldview, sort of came out and said, this is not good. We shouldn't have this in poor Charlie.
Yeah. I mean, that was exactly my question. It's good. It's good to know that there's stuff like that out there.
There's
This is a
I've
weird
seen
one.
quite. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mm-mm. No, I was just saying that the effects of this assassination are just still so surprising, you know, 5, 6 days later. Sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I think that this has had some pretty unintended consequences for the left too. I mean, I've seen quite a few videos of people that were either, you know, like in the middle or kind of like lukewarm Democrats that are, say like denouncing the Democrat Party and, moving over to more of a conservative side of things as a result of this. And I think that that's kind of really cool to see that, you have some people that are on the fence that, they're drawing the line in the sand, because as a direct reaction to not only the killing itself, but the response
The response,
to
yeah.
the killing by a lot of the people on the Democrat Party that's supposed to be a party of peace, tolerance, and, in love. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the humanists. Yeah, exactly. Well, they martyred him, Like, of course that's
Yeah.
going to happen. I mean, not of course, because, like, nothing in this political sort of environment we live in makes sense or unfolds the way it should be logically. You would think that that would happen. It's if that's true, then that's really good if it is happening. I mean, you have to find a silver lining, and that's a pretty good one.
Agreed.
Steve, anything else? You've been more quiet than I expected, but I think you're really just trying to sit and process.
I'm sifting through some stuff here. So I rag on James Lindsay a little bit,
We
as you
still
guys
have to have
know.
this conversation because I still don't
He
know why, but
he had a really great comment, and I'm gonna pull it up here if that's all right with you guys.
yeah.
He had a really, really great comment, and it's just showing us there.
Yep.
James Lindsay.
Yep.
Leftists are becoming more violent because they're losing, not because they're winning. Notice that it's your own impotent rage that makes you want to be violent if you do. Good to keep in mind for all the reasons. Yeah. That was good. I like that. That's a solid thought coming out of the doctor. A good doctor.
Man spreading James Lindsay. Yes.
He
Johnny,
also had some bullshit takes too that I won't bring here.
no, I'm interested to hear that.
Well, I one of his initial reactions was his question about how the right was going to react, which to me is the least of anyone's concerns. I mean, the right's going to react however they're going to react, but I mean, clearly, one of the nicest guys in the world on the right was just gunned down, and you're worried about the right's reaction. I mean, we should probably be talking about what to do with violent leftists right now.
Well, this is that escalation question. I mean, look, you and I have different opinions about James Lindsay, but I think that's a fair question and it's something that we should absolutely consider.
It's I'm not saying that it's not something we should consider, but it's so far down on my list of concerns,
So
particularly right now that I mean, what do you do with some of these people?
this is so I think we haven't explicitly talked about doing a retreat for the three of us, but at some point we should do like we should figure out a place where we can go and get together and hang out just the three of us for a couple of days. And so what I want to do is, Steve, you and I can like split a bottle of whiskey and talk about our differences on James Lindsay. And Johnny, I'm going to strap you to a table and waterboard you while you have to listen to like 1,000 hours of his podcast content, just so you can get up to speed on what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm a little lost. I don't know who this guy is. Maybe I do, and
Yeah,
the name's not ringing a bell.
I talk about him an annoying amount. So, I'm going to say you should listen to him, and Steve's probably going to say, check his X posts, and that's good enough. But, do with that what you will.
So what you're saying is Steve's the F sharp to your say it ain't so.
Yeah, that is the perfect analogy. I don't even Steve gets that inside joke, but if you want to explain it, Johnny.
So when we were in college, Benny used to play Weezer all the time to say it ain't so. He had a list of stuff that he played because he knew it drove me nuts. But he
That was
played
high
Say It
school.
Ain't-
That was BF in the WG's days.
No, I'm saying like in college, yeah, but yeah. So anyway, he would
We'd
play
be down in Nick's basement.
But I'm saying like when we were in college sharing a room together, he would play that song more, and he knew that I hated it. So what I used to do is I used to grab my bass and I would go to the very, very top of the fretboard where it's like really high pitched, and I would play an F sharp, which is completely dissonant to the song. So it would just make it sound like crap. So I just play until Ben turned the song off.
It's like over and over again. No, you used to do that when we were practicing our band practices in Nick's basement.
I don't remember that. I just remember freaking
Yes.
being in the dorm room right over there and just playing F sharp on your
Say
my
what
bass.
you will about Weezer. This is arguably the only true, pure quality song that they ever wrote. And Johnny just like would not allow me to enjoy it. So it was very frustrating. Okay. Yeah. Look, we've been doing this for about an hour. So I think we've kind of made some pretty good ground on our discussion. Certainly we could probably talk about this for another hour, but if you guys, and we can do that if you want, but maybe we should sort of flip to a couple of other subjects, because there was stuff both left over from the last recording that we did, but also other things I wanted to check in with you guys about that we haven't had a chance to talk about in our group chat.
Oh, cool to pivot right now. I've kind of said what I needed to say without getting into like.
That's fine. If I can just circle back real quick. My problem with the James Lindsay comment about what the right is going to do,
Yeah.
it's like, how, how do you find common ground with a person like this? This isn't a nobody, by the way. This is a journalist with pretty good following.
Yeah, that's horrifying. I mean, I think we can all agree that that's bad, but that's not like, I still think it's reasonable to say, like, if I guess I don't know what James Lindsay meant by that because I didn't see the post. I'm just hearing about it from you, and maybe you don't even know what he
Yeah.
meant by that. But
No, I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and it is a good question. Like, how is the right going to react to this? Are they going to be violent, or are they going to
yeah,
take the high road?
Yeah.
Right? It is a good question, and it's one that I still wrestle with. I don't know.
that's the thing. Like, all three of us on this chat right now, like, we don't know what the answer to that question should be, or maybe we know what it should be because, like, we're all
Right.
Christians, and I think we all understand that if we continue to escalate our politics, like, it's just going to be, we don't even know. It's going to be bad. It's going to be really, really bad. Like, words fail to even describe what it might be like. But, still, there's a part of that feels like, okay, you threw the punch. Like, now you're going to get the consequences.
Yeah. By the way, for anybody not watching, that was an ex post from a lady. She's a journalist, I think. Said Erica Kirk, you're weird as hell. That was obviously in reference to her coming out and giving her statement the other day, which was so painful to watch. I don't know if you guys watched it, but it
I
was
saw
really
it. I
painful
mean,
stuff.
it was like you could see a lot of pain, but it almost looked like fucking scorched earth in her eyes. Like she was like just noticeably enraged. No, I don't disagree. I'm just saying like it was like palpable when you look at her face, just like how like unbelievably angry she is at the loss of her husband in a completely violent way. And it's just one of those things, man. I'm like, how do you get past that for her? And then like the kids that were there at the event, you know what I mean? Like how it's gonna be a lot of freaking stuff to unpack for a long time for them, and I really truly feel bad for them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I feel for your wife and kids.
Yeah, this is
Let's if you. I'm dragging this out. I apologize.
no,
That
no.
one really bothered me.
No. There's so much that we could talk about, and I this is something that we talked about in our group chat too. So I think it would be remiss if we didn't at least touch on it. But it's still to me murky about how the shooter was actually delivered to the hands of law enforcement. But on some level, to some degree, his father was involved, right? And so we talked about this in the chat, like how horrifying it must be to be that father and to know that your child is probably going to be facing the death penalty, and if tried will almost certainly get the death penalty, and still you make that correct decision to either hand him in or facilitate the turning over of your child to law enforcement in the situation. So I think it's worth saying, just like, kudos to, and by the way, by all accounts that I've seen, very strong conservative Republican family,
They were
and
Christian
this is
family.
what yes, and this is what it means to be a moral person. When your son assassinates somebody, a political assassination, you do the right thing and you turn them into justice.
I did read that the shooter's partner, whatever you want to say, actually was feeding information as well to the FBI, like text messages and things like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, like you got to think too that like um I don't know if they would have been able to connect everything like with all the dots to confirm the shooter without the help of them, that individual as well. So
They,
and
them, I think, Johnny.
yeah. I just thought that was kind of like it was interesting, is surprising in a good way, that you know what I mean. Like you would think that like someone in that sphere right there would not kind of turn over on their ideology right over there to protect the trans rights and stuff like that, but saw something was wrong and it was wrong and they wanted to do the right thing, and thought that was actually
No,
kind of nice.
I heard something. I heard something conflicting about this. Steve, maybe you can offer some light on this, but I heard what you said, Johnny, that they helped with the investigation in identifying the shooter and turning him in. But I also heard that the partner was essentially the reporting that I saw basically suggested that the partner was the one that radicalized him. Now, you could be sitting with your romantic partner in a room and being like, wow, I really hate Charlie Kirk. Wouldn't it be great if somebody killed him? And then like your partner goes and kills him. And like, you could make the argument that, it was a really irresponsible and shitty thing to say in the moment, but you didn't actually try and get your partner to go assassinate Charlie Kirk for you. But um, there's still some question or maybe vagueness in my mind about how that actually unfolded. Steve, do you have anything to clarify there?
No, I'm just in the dark as everybody else on
Okay.
this one. I mean, I'll be curious to watch this one roll out. Timestamp is 9/14/25. I'd like to see how this all shapes out. I'll be curious to see the pipeline from strong conservative family, by all accounts, into what this clearly devolved into.
Yeah.
I don't know how this happened. I think Discord had a lot to do with it. I don't, but I don't really have I don't have a good handle on it yet. It's all very gray at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Like we're kind of grasping at straws because we don't really know anything right now. But Johnny, I think your point is a really good one. If the partner did help facilitate the capture of the shooter, then that is something that also deserves commendation.
Leave it at that.
Leave it at that. Okay. So at this point, we've basically just concluded the portion of the podcast that was supposed to be 20 or 30 minutes in our typical OSAS fashion was a multiple of that. How are those words tasting, Johnny, as you continue to stuff them down your throat about the increasing length of our podcast episodes?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Are you full yet? Yeah, so round 6 was like over 2 hours before I edited it. So there was some weird stuff. Yeah, while I'm talking about it, if anybody ever listens to this, and so far there's no evidence to suggest that that'll ever happen, but if anybody listens to these podcasts ever, so sorry for episode 6. We had like unbelievable paralyzing tech issues. I had to splice a bunch of nonsense together, which was recorded over, I think, 4 different sessions spanning 2 months. And like there was this weird, so like on the last one that we did, Steve, I was echoing in your microphone. So I had to go back and delete my audio track from every time you were talking. And there was this weird part where something you said was just lost digitally. Like it just disappeared and now I have no record of it. It was like you were in the middle of explaining something and just, 30 seconds of you talking about something just disappeared. So, you can't fix that in editing. So anyway, all of that is to say that's probably hopefully as low as the podcast will ever get in terms of quality. So sorry about that to everyone. But anyway, what I was going to say was that, yeah, we finished up the middle part of the episode where we sort of do the meat and potatoes of it. Thank God we have no picker wheel to spin or Spudomatic to draw today, but maybe we can, if you guys have time and you're willing, maybe we can dive into a couple of other conversation topics I think would be fun to talk about. Steve, do you remember, so like my memory is bad, but like 10 or 15 years ago, on our last recording, you were bringing up the conversation about the uncanny valley. And basically, is this something you saw in X? Wait, I'll let you pitch it.
It is, yeah. It was. Oh man, I can't remember the original post. I think it was from Elon Musk, actually. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and find it. But yeah, basically the uncanny valley. We all have it. It's our human ability. You might even call it a sense, where we can look at something that appears human, but it gives us a weird sense, and we can tell that it's not human, right? Like it's weird. It reaches a certain point. Like obviously we know a ragdoll is supposed to be like a human, but it doesn't make us uncomfortable. Like it's kind of comforting. But then you get toward like where we're at now with AI and like robots that kind of look like people, and it gives you that weird ick feeling.
Yeah.
And it's a sense that we have where we look at something that's almost human but not quite, and it gives us an ick feeling, tells us to stay away.
And it is not a learned sense. It's something that's innate to all humans, it seems.
Everybody's got it, yeah. So it has to be evolutionary, right? Everybody's got it.
Yeah.
Let me see if I had some notes on that. Let me see.
While you're looking that up, I was trying to think of a counterfactual because, you know, I'm a contrarian bitch. And like, if you say something in a positive, I want to try to find a negative to it. Because I love arguing. But I was thinking about like how, like, I've never had a compound spiral fracture of my femur, right? But like, everybody has the experience where like you're watching the clip from the basketball game where they land on their leg wrong and all of a sudden their femur comes shooting out through their skin. And like, the ball of your stomach just drops into your feet and like you have that sick reaction to just seeing that, right? And so I was thinking like somehow we all have this like super deep evolutionarily established like over thousands of generations this reaction on a like lizard brain level to seeing an injury of that significance even though we've never had that injury ourselves, right? And so it's like holy shit, there must be something to this idea of the uncanny valley being established so long in our history that we can't even speculate about where it came from, but it's there and it's still there and we all have it. What is that about?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few potential reasons. Like, um, it could be it could give you subtle cues of vitality in a mate, right? It could be used for identifying sick or diseased people and tell you to kind of stay away from them, right? It could be predator avoidance. Like some animals mimic human-like behavior, right? Laughing hyenas, for example.
Oh, that's
But
interesting.
we know it's not human, so we've got this sense to stay away from it. It could be a recent phenomenon. I don't know how long it's been around. It could be recent, like um, innate desire to avoid replacement by robots like Terminator. Right? Could be as recent as Terminator. Primitive camouflage, or it could be something a little more supernatural. Right?
That's a good point. Yeah, so like with the example of the camouflage or the laughing hyenas, like is our sense of the uncanny valley where it comes to AI and like, you know, cyborgs or, you know, androids or whatever you want to say, like, you know, artificial intelligence and robots. Is that something that we've transposed from like the laughing hyena slash camouflage onto now the current iteration of what kinds of concerns would be presented in modern life? Or, you know, the much more fun and hinky ideas that, you know, we were all spanked by robots like a million years ago and we all remember it on our genetic level.
Sure, it could be. Yeah, I've heard that theory tossed around.
I mean, can we sign up to get spanked by robots? Is that like, you know, it's like the thing where Stockholm
I
syndrome.
think they've got that in Japan.
Yeah, for sure they do. I mean, I've heard they do. A friend of mine told me once that they have that.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Japan.
right.
You know, yeah, that's really interesting. And you know, it's partly I thought of this too because in our last round we were talking about a post I saw on social media. You know, who the hell knows if this is true or not? But you know, you can imagine that unless somebody had some kind of synthetic material, like a synthetic metal that doesn't exist on the periodic table, that things tend to decay over the course of, you know, a fairly short amount of years, you know. Like radioactive half-life is an exception, obviously, but scientists apparently are now saying we should be looking for like, you know, slow decaying isotopes to look for traces of ancient civilizations rather than physical structures like buildings or, you know, metals, because those things apparently will break down in 10,000 years and leave no trace. So, you know, if this uncanny valley thing is from more than 10,000 years ago, we'd have no fucking idea.
Yeah, well, that was kind of that might even lend to my supernatural theory. I mean, it could be a reference to extraterrestrials that kind of look like us but aren't. Uh, Identifying demons.
Yeah, I was going to say
possess-
demons or angels.
Sure.
Yeah, if you want to go the religious route on it. Demons, that's an interesting one. Is the guy that shot Charlie Kirk a demon?
I don't know. We'll never know.
Think about that, podcast consumer. Yeah, what do you guys
Certainly touched.
What's that?
Certainly touched.
I mean, if you want to take the spiritual angle on this, what he did is satanic. You know, I don't think there's any way that you could argue against that. So, unless you want to.
We can save that for another one.
One thing I did want to talk about, Steve, do you have anything more about the uncanny valley thing?
No, that's about it. It's just an interesting thought. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, for sure.
We have an innate sense in us to see something that appears to be human is not.
Yeah, it'll be fun to be lying awake at 2 a.m, chewing on this. Thanks.
You're welcome.
This is so old news at this point. It's so frustrating. Like, obviously we've all got lives, and so I'm not like, if this last gap between recordings, mea culpa. But we've all got lives and we've all got stuff going on, so it's difficult to do this in a regular way, which makes it hard to keep up with a very fast news cycle. But one thing I did want to talk about with you guys was the whole redistricting fight, which has now, even before the assassination, was being sort of lost in the flow of the news cycle, I think, a little bit. But it did become kind of a national scandal. And so I was wondering if you guys had anything you want to talk about regarding the Texas gerrymandering / California gerrymandering / gerrymandering in general situation. And if not, or if so, whichever, I was interested to maybe share a brief history of gerrymandering with you guys.
Oh, no, please.
Well, are both of you sort of up to speed on what was going on? And if
Yeah.
so, can one of you guys summarize it a little bit?
Basically, the what was it, Greg Abbott, the Texas governor, was basically redrawing the district lines right there to pick up, I believe it was 5 additional Republican seats in the state of Texas, and the Democrats lost their mind, and a bunch of them fled the state because I believe Texas law requires a certain percentage of the House or Congress or whatever to be there to be able to authorize the redistricting. So they ended up having to put out like warrants for their arrest or something like that for them to finally come back, and then they signed it into law and they picked up the seats, which was a sweet day of justice that Jasmine Crockett lost her seat right over there. But yeah, the Dems just continue to lose their minds about losing the 5 seats over there, saying that it was taking the voice away from minority people.
What a pageantry that was, huh?
Which is funny to
A
me
lot going
because
on.
if you look at any largely Democrat blue controlled state, they've all gerrymandered as much as they possibly can to maximize picking up Democrat seats. And it's just like, this goes back to what we were talking about before, right? Like, do we stoop to their level and play their game, or do we take the moral high ground and say like what's right? And like, honestly, when it comes to this right here, like, selfishly, I would like to see them play the same game so they're at least, competitive. If they're going to gerrymander the crap out of their states. I mean, you have Massachusetts has no Republican seats whatsoever. And I forget what the percentage of Republican voters are in the state, but it's crazy that it's more than you would think in Massachusetts. If I couldn't remember what the percentage is, but it was higher than you'd think. And that they have no political voices for the state of Massachusetts for
You made a great point, an obvious point, a point that's so stupidly transparent and clear to anybody that cares to even investigate the question on the most rudimentary level that it's like, duh. But I got into this argument because, and this is I've talked about this before. I have a family member that is the kind of person that just has MSNBC on 24/7 on 2 TVs in 2 different rooms, so that if you leave one room, yeah, you got an uninterrupted stream of MSNBC in your life, which is what you need when you're retired and all you have to do is chew on anxiety all day. So anyway, this came up a couple of years ago. And like, gerrymandering is not new. It first happened in 1812, if you can imagine that. So, but like every couple of years, it comes up. And Democrats go, "Oh my God, Republicans are gerrymandering. It's the end of our democracy." It's the end of our democracy for that particular day or whatever, right? But do you guys know the history of gerrymandering at all?
I do not.
No.
Gerrymandering is named after a Massachusetts politician named Elbridge Gerry. And he was actually one of the founding participants in our American documents at the start of the Republic. And he ended up becoming, hold on, let me fact check myself because I want to make sure I get these details right. I think he was the governor in Massachusetts. No, I'm sorry, he was U.S. representative. Oh no, and he was governor in Massachusetts. Yes, right. So when he was governor in Massachusetts from 1810 to 1812, that's what he cooked up this gerrymandering scheme. Now he was, because this is going to get into a question of political affiliation, he was what was called a Republican Democrat. Now, in our modern political system, you're like, what? he was a, lady boy. Like, you know what I mean? It's like two diametrically opposed things, and that was the name of the party. It was the Republican Democrats or whatever. But the Republican Democrats. Let me also make sure I'm getting this correct because I want to make sure I'm not screwing up the. Sorry, it was the Democrat Republican Party. Who's keeping track? Anyway, Gary was the governor. He belonged to a party called the. You guys paying attention?
The
Democrat
Democrat Republicans.
Thank you. He was in the Democrat Republican Party, but that party was the precursor to the modern Democrat Party, which was established in 1828. Okay, so what that means is that a member of the party that would become the modern Democrats invented gerrymandering. Do you guys know when the Republican Party was established?
What was it, 1864 maybe?
Very close, 1854 actually. So, member of the party that would become the modern Democrat Party, which was established, the modern Democrat Party, in 1828. The modern Republican Party wasn't established until 1854. So that means that even if you don't want to say the Democrats invented gerrymandering because, oh no, it was actually the Democrat Republican Party that invented gerrymandering. But even if you want to say that, that party became the Democrats in 1828. And then there was 26 years of Democrat gerrymandering before the Republican Party was even invented. So anybody that tries to come to you guys and say, oh, Republicans are gerrymandering, now you can go to them with authority and say, A, it's a Democrat invention, and B, they were doing it for 26 years before Republicans even had their pants on.
Well, thank you for that history lesson, Ben.
It's crazy to me that more people don't talk about that because, like, I have never heard a scandal in the news where Republicans are crying and wetting the bed because Democrats are gerrymandering. It's like, we live in a world of reality where that's just a fact of life. They invented it. Obviously, they're going to do it. All of the states that are Democrat run are gerrymandered to bejesus and back, just like we've talked about a few minutes ago. And it's like, yeah, we're all going to play the game by the rules that you invented. Duh. Why are we getting our panties in a twist about this every 4 years or whatever it is, every 6 years?
It's because of
Not unlike cancel culture.
I was going to say it's because, the what is it? One of the tenets of Marxism is to tell your opponent, your political opponent, the thing that you're doing and tell them that that's what they're doing. To like, it's almost like a form of like political gaslighting. They do that because it draws attention away from them. And that, that a lot of people are like, don't have the attention span or the time and knowledge to go through and look at just a brief cursory history lesson. And like you said, Benny, that it was created by Democrats, but it's very recently been done by almost every Democrat stronghold state. They've been gerrymandered to the point where they literally can't redistrict the lines anymore to gain any more seats.
Yes, exactly. Right. It's like you said with Massachusetts. It's absolutely insane. Like, I promise that the Berkshires is just crawling with like gun-toting, hillbilly Republicans, but they have no representation because that's just the way Massachusetts is gerrymandered. Steve, Johnny, the thing about the Marxism is a very cogent point. Steve, do you know James Lindsay's expression for this?
Don't.
James
What do you mean
Lindsay
specific?
says this all the time. The iron law of woke projection never misses.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So in every circumstance, the thing that you're accused of is the thing that they are doing. It is an iron law every time. So anyway, I just wanted to give you guys a brief history of gerrymandering just so that we can all be holding a club the next time some idiot comes up to us and complains about Texas or whatever. Also, it's worthwhile just take a minute to celebrate that Jasmine Crockett lost her seat. That's wonderful for our country.
Al Green
obviously.
too.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Really?
Yeah. That bumbling idiot can try to find a way to impeach Donald Trump from his freaking retirement chair.
I hope he does. That'll be fun to watch, if nothing else. In this, so are you guys like pressed on time? Like, do you guys have some time to keep talking, or are we on a schedule?
Yeah, I do. I just, holy crap, I'm gonna have to go up. Can you pause it? I'm gonna have to get the battery charger. This thing just dropped freaking 11% battery in 5 minutes.
I cannot pause it. Technically I can, but I don't feel like it. So just go get it. We'll wait for you, buddy.
Well, I'm gonna get some water then.
Yeah, please
I'll be
do.
right back. Okay, we're getting spicy then.
It's hot as balls in here, and like nobody watches this. So again, laundry basket nihilism. Thanks, Johnny.
I'm gonna slice this part out. So
We'll see. All right. Welcome back to a little bit of a looser, freer podcast. Thanks for going to get that charger, Johnny. I know well, actually, yeah. Are we pressed on time? Do you guys have like another 15, 20 minutes maybe?
Yeah.
Or okay. Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to talk about too was the restructuring of some of the federal agencies, which I think is probably a bad idea, but this also ties slightly back into the whole like firing people for gross opinions about the Charlie Kirk assassination, like in the sense that I think it's bad if we go around starting to pick and choose. Let me just say it plainly, like right if the right adopts a cancel culture model, like I think that's bad. It'd be justified if we did, but I think it's bad. So I'm curious what you guys think. And like, I think the sort of top down, although some of it is within his rights as executive, like of Donald Trump firing, for example, the president of the, oh my God, what was it? The Bureau of Labor Statistics, because he didn't like the jobs reporting, like, I think that's just bad. It's counterproductive. So I was just curious if you guys had heard anything about this, were following this story, or like had any opinions about it.
yeah, I have. Well, I mean, you guys know my stance on government, so I don't know, anything that gets us closer to no government is okay with me.
Well, right, but he replaced the person, right? That doesn't get us closer to no government.
Right. Well, he replaced it, but I mean, as long as we're undermining trust in it, I don't care. I'm good with that. If it gets us closer to nothing, then I'm okay with it. I don't really care. But I mean, as far as like the cancel culture goes, like we need to start playing the same game that they are, as far as I can tell. We're just playing different games. We're playing chess and they're playing shoots and ladders. I mean, we're gonna get canceled. I agree with you that it's not a great thing to do. It's not a good thing at all. I don't like getting people fired from their jobs, but it's gonna happen to you. So I don't know. Do you play by their rules or not? I don't. Like they would just assume they'll cancel you for any view that you got. I mean, you're about the most moderate guy that I know. Yeah, but you're not in lockstep with trans ideology or whatever. They'll cancel you for that.
Or kill me.
Yeah.
Or shoot you in the neck.
The question of the not being woken off and the left eating itself. I'm kind of been at an impasse with this too. You know what I mean? Like I understand what Steve's saying, and I do agree to it to a certain extent, but I also rationally, like Ben, you're saying, like, I don't think it's a good precedent to set if that's what we're going to do, you know what I mean? But you can't sit on the fence with this, you know what I mean? So I don't know how the conservative party is going to kind of respond to this, if they're going to just start kind of saying, screw it, we're screwed either way. So why don't we just play the same game? But I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of my point, is the precedent's already been set. It's already there. Yeah. We're just not doing it.
Yeah, you guys aren't wrong about that. And I agree with you. And I think there is an impulse to play the game the way it's being played against us, like to resort to, political guerrilla tactics and everything. But that's
mean, maybe that's the way out of it. Maybe we reach an impasse with the other side. Like, hey, look, we don't want to keep doing this. So long as you stop, we'll stop.
But that's the thing. Like, yeah, that's what I'm advocating. But I don't believe that only works if the other side also agrees to stop. And I don't see that happening.
I agree with that. I think that they demonstrated that they're not capable of rational thinking or discussion.
But that's what's so crazy hard about this. It locks you into this place where you're like, okay, here's the way that we disengage and like normalize our relations and get back to like a healthy political dialogue. And then like, but you say that knowing that the other side is unlikely to agree to those terms. And so you're left with this choice of either committing to like running headlong down the road to hell with the other party, or just like continuing to get the shit kicked out of you indefinitely to stand on like a moral principle. It's just like, where's the solution to that? It's like, how can this be the place we're in? It just doesn't, frustrating, because you would expect, because humans like nice, tidy solutions to things, that there would be a nice, tidy solution, but there truly doesn't seem to be one.
You can't like rationalize with like political zealots, though. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's just there's no way to do that, So I'm almost like leaning more towards like, if we're gonna get the crap kicked out of us, you know what I mean? I'd at least like to put up a fight and see which side wins, instead of just letting us get bulldozed over and having to turn the other cheek and being forced to, bend the knee to all these things that we don't believe in,
Yes, exactly. But implicit in that feeling should be knowing that if they hit us, we're going to try and hit them back harder, and then they're going to try and hit us back harder, and then we're just going to be in this endless spiral of like escalating, power and destruction until question mark. Like, there's no way to. Well,
But
I suppose there is a way to know where this leads, but it's not a place that we want to go to.
Well, I would argue that the other solution is not a place we want to go to either. I mean, like if we didn't pump the brakes on some of this stuff, with the Trump getting in 2024 election, I think if we continued the Biden Harris administration politics and stuff like that, I mean, another 4 years, there would have been absolutely no coming back from that. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. I wanted to
yeah,
ask
no,
this.
that's a really good point, and it's kind of a white pill on the whole thing. Is that 10 years of cancel culture got us Donald Trump twice? So
Yeah.
kind of a
I
white
want to
pill.
hold that thought, Steve. I want to sort of climb into that a little bit more, but this made me think of something that I want to ask you guys about the Charlie Kirk discussion. If Trump hadn't won last year, don't you guys think there could have been a possibility that we could have seen like a high profile assassination from a right wing side against a left wing person?
No,
I don't think so.
0% chance actually,
Why not?
because we don't do that.
What do you mean we don't do that? Two Minnesota
Conservatives don't
legislators
do
were
it.
just shot.
Conservatives don't do this. They don't do this in large.
Two Minnesota legislators were shot months ago, June, I think it was.
It was a nobody weirdo. I mean, that's not a high profile killing. I mean, a high profile killing, I don't know, what would that look like? Kamala Harris or something like that? No conservative would put themselves on the line. We got too much to lose, right? I mean, the difference between a conservative and a leftist is that we have jobs, we have families, we have kids. We got stuff to lose.
I'm not
Right?
saying
Like
that even
this
couldn't
guy that
happen.
shot
I
Charlie
just
Kirk
don't
had
think
nothing to
we
lose.
like Steve said, we just don't typically do that.
We do it though. You know what I mean? Like,
And I'll add that the outcry would have been completely different. There would have been nobody cheering for it.
that is true. That is true. So one of the reasons,
Certainly nobody high profile cheering for it.
yeah, I agree. And one of the reasons, so okay, Steve, you accused me, and I'm still reeling
Fairly.
and trying to understand the impact on our friendship going forward. You accused me of being one of the most moderate people you know. So um, one of the things that I try to do is stand in the place of the other side and see it from their perspective, and imagine that if the roles were reversed, what it might look like. And so one of the things I've been thinking about, and you guys probably are thinking about this too, is what has the landscape of political violence of one side of the aisle against the other side of the aisle looked like over the last 10 years? And that's arbitrary 10 years, but humans like round numbers or whatever. So
Completely one-sided.
no, it's not, but it is quite one-sided. What's interesting about this is that I think I may have mentioned this before. I've been using Grok a lot for a lot of my AI stuff. Because, I feel like 1 month ChatGPT might be the best AI, another month like Grok might be good. Then, they kind of like switch positions as far as what they're good at and how good they are at it. But I have found that Grok has been pretty good lately. But if anybody wants to stand there and say Grok is Elon Musk's platform, so it's probably skewed towards conservatives, 100% not true, because I was trying to do some research and ask Grok, what has been the history over the last 10 years of political violence against high profile individuals from one side versus the other? And Grok bent over backwards to try and make it a balanced calculus. So I'll give you an example. Set up against the political assassination of Charlie Kirk, Grok had some guys plotted to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. Okay. One is a murder that resulted in the death based on, a sniper bullet for political means that destroyed a young man in the prime of his life. The other was a bunch of idiots in, was that Michigan, I think, Gretchen Whitmer? In Michigan, probably goaded on by planted FBI agents thinking about kidnapping her. It's like, those are not equivalent. But the AI tried to make it that, here's an example from the left, here's an example from the right, right? So when I finally ironed out the sort of gross manipulation of the criteria that I was providing by the AI, trying to make it a balanced accounting, it ended up being that over the last 10 years, there were basically 2 attempts and or completed acts of violence or executions from right wingers against Democrats, high profile Democrat individuals, versus 8 left wing people against right-wing prominent characters. So like Charlie Kirk would be the example right now. So it's not that there are no examples from the right, but yes, it is the case that it happens more often with the left wing right now. But are we choir boys? Like, could the right not step up and do more of this? That's the thing we need to be careful of, because if we're getting into this model where we're saying, okay, now you've done it, so we're going to do it twice as hard, like that calculus could switch. It could be the case that we see a lot more examples of violence from the right wing against the left wing. And it's just not a place that I think anybody should be talking about going to.
Oh, and it'd be far more successful too.
Leave that aside. I mean, that's definitely a point, right? I don't want to say it's a good
Well,
point.
there's a huge difference between attempted murder and murder, right? Like there was an attempted murder, well, 2 attempted murders on Donald Trump. Charlie Kirk hit us a lot harder because he was actually murdered.
I think it's about more than that, but yes, that is part of it. He actually was killed in a purely amoral framework. Like, you have to say that the guy that shot Charlie Kirk knew what he was doing, right? Like, he went there with intention, planned the whole thing out, like had it soup to nuts the way he wanted it to go, and he did exactly what he was trying to do. So, if the case that we're trying to make is that, hey, the side of the aisle that's pro 2A is going to do that better if we try and do it. Yeah, that's probably true. But like, hopefully we can avoid getting to the situation where that's the thing we're talking about.
Yeah, I really hope it doesn't come to that.
This whole idea that I think we've talked about before about words being violence. One thing that maybe would be valuable, this is like a measure of medicine that cures, it's like an ounce of medicine cures a pound of disease kind of thing. It's not good, but next time somebody hears somebody say to them, words are violence, maybe they should just punch that person right in the face and say, okay, now you can call me the worst name you could think of and we'll see who hurts more. I don't know what else to say about that. It's like when we live in a culture where half of the political philosophy is going around saying that words are killing people, free speech becomes a capital crime.
I've been thinking about this actually a little bit over the last couple of days, and that, like, I used to say, like, words aren't violent, but I've been I've been having a bit of a moral dilemma in that, like, do you think that, like, all these words that have been radicalizing these people into, like, political action, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, the
It's a
words
really good
aren't
point.
actually hurting them, but they're contributing towards motivating people to become violent. So, I mean, do words actually hurt though? Can they be violent? I mean, directly, I don't think so, but I mean, like I said, you talk about this guy, the shooter right over here, whose partner radicalized him with a bunch of words and videos and things like that of people talking, and like that ended up becoming violent. So, like, I don't know. I've been kind of having a hard time with that. Like, the free speech part of me says, words aren't violent. You know what I mean? Only people are. But um, I don't know. I've had a kind of a conflicting difference of opinion here, just based off of, like, the shooting right over here, that it was a bunch of people being told a bunch of stuff. Words did actually end up being the wheels that put violence into motion.
Do you have anything, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'd like to see how this whole thing shakes out. I don't know. I get the sense that the guy that shot Charlie Kirk would probably argue that Charlie Kirk's words were what spurred it, not his transgender furry lover, right? So I don't
I think it's a
I
column
don't
A,
know.
column B on
I
that
mean,
one.
if somebody just saying what they think is violence, I think I could ever get behind that. That sounds crazy. This guy clearly had deep-seated problems.
Yeah, I've often thought to myself that language is the greatest technology that humans have ever created. And like any technology, there's constructive and destructive power to it if it's a good technology or a powerful technology. And so, Johnny, you make a really cogent point that, what you're talking about is different from the way that the left uses the expression words are violence, right? Because what
Yes, I
they're
agree.
saying, yeah. So just for the listening or viewing audience, if we ever have one, is to break it down. Basically, the conception from the left is that if I say something that undermines your sense of self or diminishes the way you feel your presence in the world, or however you want to quantify that, that's a form of violence because it undermines the way you exist in a world that is governed by language to a huge degree, because everything we do fundamentally is language based, it's linguistic. But what you're saying is, you could use words as a tool to persuade somebody to do something bad, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and therefore you could construe that as words being violence, right? Did I characterize that okay?
Yeah.
So, but the thing that I've been thinking about lately is that there's a really good analogy, I think anyway, between the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, whereby people are constantly saying, like, oh, the Second Amendment shouldn't exist because, there's always the chance, and it does happen. It's not even a chance. It happens, right? Violence perpetuates out into the world because people have guns. So, the shootings in Chicago, or it's like, gun violence in schools or whatever it might be, that is in some way a derivative of the fact that Americans have the right to keep and bear arms. But whether you're talking about taking away the Second Amendment or the First Amendment, the end of that road is tyranny either way. You take away the Second Amendment, we all know how this works. Like that's how governments control their populace, right? But it's the same for the First Amendment. If we restrict free speech in any way, any significant way, there are restrictions, reasonable restrictions, but you have to be very careful. Those have to be very few and very explicit. If you like you could end up in a situation where like you're in Russia as a political dissident walking down the street and you get like a bunch of polonium jabbed into your side through a dart tipped umbrella. You know what I mean? Because that's what not having free speech looks like. So it's very disappointing that humans are humans, and there's evil and darkness and spiders and rats in every human being. We have to accept that when we're trying to make broad sweeping political policy. But the thing of it is that humans are going to maximize the bad parts of humanity if you take away things like the First and Second Amendment. And so they're very important. I think we should be very careful about restricting those things, even from the right to the left. Like, that's why I'm very skeptical of like the push now for the right to cancel the left, for people to be fired for saying really shitty, gross things about Charlie Kirk being killed. The same way that we feel skeptical about people trying to exert gun control. I think it's just a bad road. Anyway,
No, I think that was really, really well
That's my
spoken,
rant.
and I agree with you. I don't really have a whole lot to add to that. That was pretty well summarized.
Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate that. Steve, cut me down.
Plenty of thoughts, but we're approaching 2 hours.
I know, but I'm gonna have to cut a bunch of this anyway. The count is not really the count. Come on, give me something. Like,
Okay.
look, we haven't done this regularly in a while, so if it's okay with you guys, I want to talk to you guys about it.
Sure. Well, the freedom to do something is not the freedom from consequence of doing it, right? If you're advocating murdering somebody, if you're cheering on somebody's death, yeah, I want to know about it, and I'm not going to frequent your business. And I don't know if somebody wants to try to get you fired. Well, like maybe you shouldn't have been doing sick things.
Well, hold on a second.
Sorry, dude.
Your prerogative to not frequent the business of somebody that has gross opinions about Charlie Kirk's murder is different from that person getting fired from a job, right? I agree with you on the one, but I'm a little more fuzzy on the other.
Well, it's still a consequence, right? Like consequences come in all shapes and sizes.
Yes, they do. But I think that's what we're trying to, sharpen up here.
And I think you're right. You had the point way at the beginning that um, perhaps if we did go down this route, that it should be tailored to public office, teachers, things like this. That's probably right. That's probably right. I damn sure don't want them teaching my kids. If you're celebrating death of anybody, I don't care who it is. It's particularly a peaceful person, right? Like we're not celebrating, Mao Zedong's death. Charlie Kirk's, a Christian guy who went and debated a bunch of college kids. Never heard a fly. I mean, I don't know how far you stretch that one, but there's consequences to everything you do, right? Like you have the right to own a gun, but you know what? If you're a crazy person, I probably don't want you having a gun.
Yeah. So I'm going to shout out my buddy Dan Valor, who I've mentioned on the podcast before, my friend who's living in Japan, who's a really, really artful political conversationalist. He was telling me that there's a website now, apparently, which is keeping account. Like you can write in and report people who are making really untoward posts about the whole assassination thing on social media. So there's like basically a database of, if you want to go and find out who had a really crummy reaction to it, and then like, for example, like you said, Steve, not frequent their business if they have a business or whatever it is, you can see. It's kind of like a libs of TikTok for, bad reactions to the assassination. So I think that's fine, right? Because like if you put your shitty opinion out on social media, like you said, there are consequences to that. And if you're too stupid to understand that there are consequences, well, that's just too bad for you. But this is a good way of holding people to account for the shitty things, the anti-human things, the really gross and immoral things that they're saying about a man who was just murdered at 31 years old with a wife and 2 young kids. So that's fine. But like, I think we should be hesitant to adopt the behavioral patterns of the left because we know they're toxic, and like, we could live in toxicity if we want to, but while it might feel good, I think it's bad for us. Like, forget the
Yes, like
polity,
the one.
forget the polity, right? Like, it's bad for the polity, yes, but it's like bad for us to do that.
I agree. I think you're right on that. Yeah.
It's hard though. It feels so good. Feels so good to get that justice a little bit. Anyway, okay, guys, I'm sorry for sort of domineering the conversation a little bit, but did you guys want to add anything else about that? We started like ostensibly talking about like the restructuring of federal agencies, and then I just spun it into this whole like Charlie Kirk tangent again. So
So,
No,
so what was
I
your
get
question about it? Like, what was your, like, you're talking about restructuring? Like, are you asking if it's how we feel, if it's a good thing, if it's a bad thing? I mean, I know you had made a comment about like Trump replacing somebody he didn't like and how optically that's bad. But I mean, are you
yeah,
talking about like, how do we feel about like us, like, you know, are you talking about getting rid of certain like agencies and things like that, and like laying people off and downsizing things?
yeah. Sorry, I'm being a bad captain right now. I feel like the whole conversation. This is hard because part of it is the fact that Trump is going in and plucking people that he doesn't like on a personal level, I think, from federal agencies. Which, Steve, your point like doesn't fall on deaf ears. Like, it's hard, right? Because like, if we can, that's like a real Ron Swanson approach to like thinking about the government. It's like, if we can undermine the government, all the better. But at the same time, like, then we're just left with an even more broken government. And at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, we are chained to that government. Okay, so like, yeah, it'd be better if it was smaller. Of course, we all would like that. But whether it's functioning at a high level and a competent level or at an incompetent level, it's still exerting the same amount of power over our lives, unfortunately. So
Sure. Well, I mean, I guess my thought on that, everything else aside, that's his prerogative. If he wants to get rid of people that he doesn't like that he appoints, that's his prerogative. You know,
well, he didn't appoint this
you let the
person, but
voters decide, I guess.
yeah, I agree with you. As long as he's within like the constitutional executive powers, like, that's a different discussion. But it, I think it looks bad. And the other question is that I want to address to you guys is this whole like federalization of law enforcement now going into Memphis. Like, apparently National Guard's going to be going into Chicago, or at least everyone's talking about that. It seems to have worked out pretty well in DC, but that's a little bit different because DC is not a state. It's not its own municipal government. I think that's right. It's a little complicated, but if Trump starts sending federal forces into state municipalities, although we can all like that it's decreasing crime and it seems to have it's making the Democrats angry, so that's good, of course. But like, do you I,
Are you saying optically it looks bad because it makes him look like the fascist that they're like claiming that he is, by
what I was
abusing like his presidential
thank you.
authority into like
Perfect, Johnny.
realms where he kind of
Thank you.
shouldn't be doing it?
Yeah, so what I was about to say is like, next time we record, we were theoretically going to be talking about Trump is a fascist as the debate topic. I don't really think I think maybe we should pick a new topic at this point. Just because of like the conversation we've been having tonight, and I was surprised we didn't delve into the question of what fascism actually means tonight as much as I thought we were going to, but leave that aside. We can maybe talk about it next time or not, whatever. But yeah, exactly. You've summarized that very clearly, and so I think that is correct. It looks bad. Whether or not the effects are good, this is the question, right? Like, what are the ends and what are the means, and where's the relationship of that structure? Like, is it any means to justify the end you want? Because I think there are serious political considerations to be making right now. And like, Trump has done some good things in this second term that I think we could all broadly approve of, but I think he's also made some serious blunders. And I'm concerned that this might be one of them.
Well, I think that like kind of like expand on the point of like, talking about, him kind of sticking his nose into kind of areas that he's not really presidentially, like allowed to do. I think that again, talking about setting precedent, you know what I mean? Like if he's allowed to do that, and then you have another, maybe it's another Democrat president and everything like that. We've set a precedent that the president can use
Great
the
point.
military to, like to go into any state or anything like that against its will. You know what I mean? Like that seems like that's a bad thing. Even like you were saying before, even if the intended consequences or the intended benefits of like him putting, the military into there is, what I would consider something good, you know what I mean? Reducing crime and making neighborhoods safer and things like that. I still think just on a matter of principle, like I don't think he should be doing it. You know what I mean? And my personal opinion is like a place like Chicago is so far gone. Just let the place freaking burn to the ground. I mean, I don't know. Like I think if the constituents don't want to vote competent people into office that are going to make things right, then like they just kind of deserve to get what they get. You know what I mean? It's up to them to demand that they get somebody like in a place of political power that's going to make the change that they want, and to hold that person accountable to that, not just somebody campaigning a bunch of empty platitudes, getting in and then just siphoning money into their slush fund and making themselves rich at the expense of the whatever city or state or whatever that they're running. I just think sometimes I just think they should just let it burn to the ground. And I think that Trump's like kind of putting his nose into like business he shouldn't be doing with this. Like with DC, that's a different thing. You know what I mean? But threatening to go into different places that are, I'm not sure it's a good precedent to set, because if we're not technically, conservatives aren't in political power next time around, what does that mean for us? You know what I mean? How can we complain about that if it happens, if we were silent when it was, happening when we thought it was good? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Steve.
A few thoughts on this. No, I mean, I think morally we're all in the same place. We don't want government overreach like this. You can't just go dropping hellfire missiles on south side of Chicago. So we're all in lockstep. But so I will take the devil's advocate position on this. In that, I will paraphrase a great man, Eric Prince, formerly of Blackwater. And basically what he said was, it was in reference to something else, but he said, well, these people can't govern themselves, so we're going to do it for them. I don't know. Maybe there's some value in that.
I could see that because, I think maybe what Trump is trying to do is create the model saying, you guys have had Democrat governance for decades, and here's where it got you. Now here's 1 year of one intervention of Republican or conservative or, pro law enforcement, whatever intervention. And here's what that does. And so I think what he's saying is he's maybe trying to make an example for these cities. And Johnny, your point is perfect. I think it's the H.L. Mencken quote. Do either of you guys want to take it so that I don't have to butcher it?
Oh no, you got yourself into
Yeah,
this one.
exactly.
H.L. Mencken said, democracy is the theory that the people know what they want and deserve to get it good and hard. And so, you could make the case, and I think, Johnny, you articulated this great, which is that this is what they keep voting for, so this is what they're going to keep getting. So maybe what Trump is trying to do is say, you've got what you wanted, but here's what it could be like with just a tiny increment of intervention. And maybe that's good, but there is this like gross sort of government overreach element to it that I think all of us are a little bit uncomfortable with. And so,
Yeah,
I'm interested.
I will say though, I'm not sorry to interrupt, but
No.
I'm not as concerned about the precedent part, setting precedents. I'm really unconcerned with that, because if you think the left's not just gonna set their own precedents, like,
Well, the other thing too is
they're
that
going to do whatever they're going to do.
8 of the 10 most violent cities in the U.S. are government run, Democrat run. So it's like they can't even use that to exert power if they wanted to as an excuse. So I kind of agree with you, Steve. They're going to do it whether they have precedent or not. But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry I interrupted. Go ahead.
No, that's it. Well rounded out.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Okay. At the risk of making this go until midnight, Do you have anything for the X-Files, Steve? We've got a new segment.
But yeah, we haven't gotten to the X-Files yet.
Broad.
Yeah, I mean,
Broad, hold on, wait,
I got
let me tee you up real quick. Broad, myriad listeners and watchers to the Of Strong Steel podcast, behold, as we unveil to you a brilliant new segment captained by Steve Glenn, sailing off into the philosophical horizons. Dude, I just drank like 12 ounces of rye whiskey, so I'm at the end of my tether here.
Yeah, this is probably not a great week to start on this one. I mean, really, all I've got is the Charlie Kirk stuff. I mean, it's just
Maybe
it's
that's the best time.
accessible with people celebrating. Though I did have a really funny one.
Yeah, so just to sorry, while you're looking that up, Steve, just to tee this up. So the X-Files is hopefully not copyrighted, but we thought we would do a segment where Steve presents to us stories from the world of X where Johnny and I are too pussyfoot to go. And Steve, as our intrepid pioneer into the worst part of the world, can help us navigate what's going on there.
I thought 4chan was worse than X.
4chan is a fucking left-wing trope, bro. That's not even a thing anymore.
Are they? Is that still? Yeah, that's not even.
4chan's like 15 years ago. There's probably like 3 forums where like, you know, there's some white supremacists that hang out and the left is like, 4chan's doing all of this. Wow.
I had a really good one. So there was a lot of speculation. This stuff I got is all surrounding Charlie Kirk. So at the risk of beating it to death, just let me know if I've gone too far. But there was a myriad of people that were speculating on the political position of the shooter, and they were so wrong that it was unfathomable to me. Like this guy.
Was it the guy that got fired on MSNBC?
Yeah,
Who said that somebody might have just been excited in the crowd and fired off a gun by accident?
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it could have just been one excited
Mike Dowd or something like that.
I mean, it's just like mental gymnastics.
I think he deserved to get fired just for being so stupid.
Just the one, like this guy's a lawyer, but he's got like 1.5 million followers, so he's not a nobody.
That's insane.
Kirk's apparent assassin seems to have been ultra MAGA, exploding the GOP MAGA attempt to pin the blame.
Well, hold on a second. He does have a Ukrainian flag emoji next to his name, so I think we should take it seriously.
So you can pretty much discard his opinion.
Oh, that's what I meant. Yeah, of course, right.
But I mean, there's a series of these. I mean, I've just got so many of these. Am I still scrolling through on your end?
No, it's still on Lawrence. It appears to be a screenshot. Yeah.
This guy's a California congressman. Now the Charlie Kirk assassin has been identified as MAGA. I'm sure Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and all the insane GOP politicians who call for retribution. It's the radical left will now shift their focus to stopping thoughts of violence and the radical right.
Where does this stuff come from, man?
Okay, look, time out. First of all, this guy still is associating Elon Musk with Donald Trump and MAGA. Like, he tried to start a political party in opposition to Donald Trump. Like, this guy
I'm telling you, like, the mental gymnastics is, like, unbelievable.
This guy still thinks it's, like, April or something.
Despite being totally wrong
Steve,
about
who is it? He's a California congressman.
He's a California congressperson.
How could you be that stupid?
It hurts.
What else have we got? Man, I had a really good one. I can't find it. There's about... He was trying to... It was right after the news had been released that this guy had a transgender lover, and this guy was trying to say that it was right wing. Oh, it was freaking phenomenal. Sleeping with a trans person makes
that's got to be a pretty good like
makes you
project.
Right wing.
Trying to find a right wing tranny.
Oh, so good.
Actually, I have known one.
Is it you?
I'm not saying they don't exist, but it's certainly not a telltale sign.
I have known one. This person, like, obviously, we're all humans. We like other humans. Like, humans are weird and nuanced and quirky. So, like, you know, some of them are trans, whatever. Like, nobody on this podcast is anti-trans. And so it's crazy that I have to throat clear about this. But the only thing I was going to say was that this was somebody that I knew who was actually like a huge fan of Ronald Reagan, like literally had a framed picture of Ronald Reagan on their workstation desk and was just as sweet as could be. But like, you know, people go through shit and like everybody has different expressions of their lives or whatever. This was a very sweet person. Nobody would wish this person ill or anything like that. And this person certainly wouldn't either shoot or try to convince somebody else to shoot a mainstream political prominent figure. So it's not a good basket to put people into. I don't think that's what you guys are doing. So I'm not trying to say that, but I am saying like I knew the one right-wing trans person. That's all I'm saying.
Right. I'm not saying it
I
doesn't
met
happen,
that
but
person.
I certainly wouldn't use it as a proxy to
I was gonna
determine if
say
someone
you
was
found the
right wing.
unicorn, Benny.
It would not be a good proxy. That's correct. Yeah, I agree.
Well, here's a really sick one. So this is from 16th of April. This guy wrote an article on when is it time to be violent with the right? And this guy obviously had multiple bad takes on the Charlie Kirk thing. But this is the problem right here: is this people are reading this stuff. That's a tough one to get your
I
head
wonder
around.
how all these people that have the Ukrainian flag in their profile felt about that girl getting freaking stabbed on the train by a guy that had been in prison 14 separate times.
Yeah, we didn't even get into that one.
So
that's its own.
have you guys? This is another James Lindsay callback, but he did a lot of podcasting about Herbert Marcuse's essay "Repressive Tolerance." Are you guys familiar with this? So Herbert Marcuse was one of the Frankfurt School socialist communists that came over. I guess you could just say Marxist, whatever. That came over after World War II and started teaching in American universities. He was primarily operating out of Berkeley, I think. And he wrote this essay called Repressive Tolerance. And basically his argument was that any expression, political or otherwise, from the left should be tolerated. With the First Amendment, just give it free reign, whatever, let it go out into the world, sort of like a Mao let 100 flowers bloom or whatever it was. And that was the sort of treatment of the left. But for the right, there should be repressive tolerance, where any, even just not even speech, but ideas from the right should be repressed and essentially destroyed. And so that like reminded me when you showed us that post, Steve, of the idea of like, when is it correct to use violence against the right? It's like, that's been happening for 4 or 5 decades already. It's like, it's already happened. Anyway, X-Master, anything else?
No, that's about all I've got. Man, I had a really good one. I'll bring it up next week. I'll find it.
So
so good.
So we'll look forward to that. Remember, OSAS podcast, promises made, promises broken. That's our motto. So
That's right.
if you don't have it next week, that's fine or whatever. But this conversation, this conversation about the motive or the political identification of the shooter made me think of Butler last year when, like, Johnny or Steve, I can't remember which of you it was that was talking about the fact that, Steve, I think it was you, like, we shouldn't have to lose friends over political discussion or whatever. I did lose one. Like, and he basically just stopped being friends with me after I went down and visited him last year. And this was the week that Trump's Butler assassination attempt happened. And so he was basically saying, like, oh, too bad we didn't get him, kind of thing. And now we're not friends because I think of political disagreements, but he was like very much that type of guy. And unfortunately, in telling you guys the backstory here, I've lost my train of thought. But what were we just talking about?
Not losing friends over politics.
It was before that, I feel like. Oh, Thomas Crooks. So this was like right after the assassination attempt happened at Butler. Like, nobody knew any details about the assassin. Like, he was dead at the scene, right? So like everybody was just trying to figure out what was happening. And so he was registered Republican, Thomas Crooks, the guy who tried to kill Trump at Butler, but he had donated to left-wing organizations. So my erstwhile friend was trying to say, well, he was registered Republican, so obviously he was a right-winger trying to kill Trump. And I was like, you fucking idiot. So many people register with the opposite party so they can undermine their primaries. He actually gave his money to left-wing causes. Like, that's how you enact your political action, right? Is by donating your dollars to it. So it's very clear to me that Thomas Crooks was of the left. But I was curious if you guys had any insight on that or any opinions about it. I mean, it's from a year ago plus, but we're talking about it. So
no, I mean, nothing really beyond that. But you're right. A lot of people, particularly, I mean, well, obviously in states where you have to be registered with a party to vote. I mean, if you're in Massachusetts, does it really make sense? For example, if you're in Massachusetts, does it make sense to register as a Republican? Or I'd say Democrat rather.
Sure.
Does it? I mean, what's the point?
What's the point?
You're going to get who you.
What's the point of voting at all in Massachusetts? Is what I would say to that.
Right.
Regardless of what party you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you might as well just have some fun with it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just that was one of the things that was shocking to me, is like how people can twist themselves in their capacity to reason to just continue their narrative. I mean, we all know that this is a part of like human behavioral psychology. It's like you're going to twist reality to maintain the thing that you believe is the case, right? But you know, it's great. The reason I thought about this was that people are trying to twist reality to make this person that killed Charlie Kirk into like some kind of MAGA right wing extreme ultra nationalist, Hitlerian whatever.
What sense would that make though? Like if
It
they
wouldn't,
paint Charlie as a MAGA guy, why would a MAGA guy kill a MAGA guy? That doesn't make any sense.
because then they can just say MAGA is the whole problem. It's all MAGA. That's the only. You're right. It doesn't make sense, but I think that's the sense they're trying to make of it.
I got you.
They're taking this iron law of woke projection too far.
Credit the source, buddy. Don't plagiarize.
Dr. James Lindsay,
Thank you, Steve.
the one, the only.
Very big of you. Yeah, because, like obviously we all know. And when I say we all, I don't mean the three of us on this podcast. I mean everybody that has three brain cells bouncing against each other in their heads knows that this was a political assassination from somebody of the left against Charlie Kirk. Any attempts to construe otherwise is just like a naked political artifice that doesn't make any sense. Johnny, you asked exactly the right question. Why would it make sense for a MAGA person to assassinate Charlie Kirk, who is like the guy that got Donald Trump elected? Makes no sense, right? But then they can say, oh no, it's not a left-wing person that did this to Charlie Kirk. We're not the violent ones. It's the MAGA people that are violent. That's the whole thing. I think we've talked this to death, boys. 10:30.
One last thing. Did you see the girl who tweeted? I don't know if not. I don't know what she made a social media post about potentially bringing back the Smith-Mundt Act. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. So in 1946, they made it illegal for the government to basically propagandize their citizens. In 2013, Barack Obama reversed that, so it made it so it was legal to propagandize your
I remember that.
citizens.
Yeah.
And this girl was like sending out like basically saying all of social media like repost this, so Donald Trump can see it. And actually, Donald Trump ended up reposting it, basically saying that he had seen what she was talking about, and she was talking about potentially going back and revisiting that, the Smith-Mundt Act, where you're making it illegal for the government to propagandize their citizens, and with that being like, a lot of the legacy media outlets and journalists and stuff like writing this garbage that's like patently false, and potentially slapping major, like crippling fines to people that have been caught actually doing this. And I just, they were talking about maybe like recalling it the Charlie Kirk Act. I don't know if you guys had heard anything about that.
No, I haven't. This is the first I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, same. So I'm trying to understand what this is saying. So like, would this be like at the State of the Union where the president, whether it's Trump or Biden or whoever, says like, oh, hey, now I want to talk about, Johnny Smith over there in the audience who, has cancer or whatever, like there's an example where they call it the person in the audience. Is that the type of thing we're talking about? Or is it, what is this?
No, it's like actual like media and stuff like that. They can't like they made it so that you could basically publicly release false information with the idea of trying to basically cultivate a narrative, whether or not it's true or untrue. You know what I mean? And a lot of times it's untrue, so that they were using that as ways of like, like kind of like playing on people's emotions and things like that, and getting them to like react in a certain way. You know what I mean? But again, that was made legal by Barack Obama in 2013.
So it was repealed and then repealed by Obama. And now they're talking about repealing.
Yes,
No, wait.
yes. But calling it the Charlie Kirk Act.
What was it called again, John?
It was the Smith-Mundt Act.
MONT? Munt. Thank you. I'm going to look this up. I want to understand this better, and maybe we can talk about it next time we record if we want to.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'd like to know the limitations on it. If it applies to all media, state-funded media, or independent. I don't know how far it goes.
Yeah. Okay, boys. Does anybody else have anything else they want to go over? Otherwise, I think we've done a rollicking. I mean, like, we're at 2:30. Obviously,
we're at 2.5 hours right now.
All of that wasn't pure conversation, but, a lot of it was. And I think it was good conversations. Maybe we'll keep a lot of it. The thing that I've been realizing is that although we set out initially to try and keep it to an hour, this is apparently a free-form podcast. So, it's going to be what it's going to be. The conversation will dictate like how long our episodes are. and people could just
I
fucking
just like hanging out with you guys.
yeah, and right, and if we ever have listeners, they can choose to sack up and like listen to our nice conversations or not, whatever.
We,
Like
we
leave
have
it
to
up to them.
start being a little more consistent with content upload if we're going to be
So-
getting any listeners.
I mean that's one thing. The other thing too is that like I should probably stop being terrified of talking about the show on my social media, which is a real thing that is happening. But Steve, how's X been going? Have you been continuing to post stuff in the OSAS name or whatever?
Yeah, I took a break after the Charlie Kirk thing. I gave him a little tribute just today or yesterday.
Thanks
but
for doing
I
that.
took a break from it to kind of let it play out. I didn't want to say something stupid.
Yeah.
But it's all right.
I want to take a minute to recognize that you're doing that because, you know, I get the sense that you're on X a lot anyway, but doing that kind of purposeful, like mindful posting and like trying to create and establish a presence for the podcast is a lot of work. It's certainly work that I don't do, but should be doing. So
No, you do plenty.
anyway, with all that being said, I think maybe we can adjourn for the night. And I just want to say it's been really nice catching up with you guys. It's been a while, and this was a timely episode. It's an important subject, an important topic, and certainly Charlie Kirk, you know, whatever anybody might think about him, I think he was a good man, and I think he deserves to be paid tribute a little bit.
Agreed.
Amen.
So with the outros, let's start with you, John Boy.
John Blaze signing out.
Steve, Trainwreck, signing off.
And I'm Ben Tomzak. The First Amendment is the most important thing we have in our Constitution, and it is the only thing that makes America America. Thanks, boys. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Night.